Anahita Sedaghatfar, an attorney who specializes in cases of sexual harassment and assault, will be here to discuss this case and what's next for the disgraced producer. All saw that video today. Welcome now, Anahita Sedaghatfar. You prosecute harassment cases. Let me ask you this. When you saw Harvey Weinstein in handcuffs, you thought what? I
thought it's about time, because there are 85 other women that have come forward and accused him of sexual assault and harassment. It seemed to be, known in Hollywood. It was like the secret that nobody talked about, but everyone knew. And so I thought, you know what? This is a day that all of his victims should feel like justice is coming. They should feel a sense of vindication.
I heard Weinstein's lawyer today immediately attacking the credibility of the accusers. He said if he cross-examined them, that they would not be believed. What do you think about that strategy?
I don't think that strategy is going to work anymore. We are now in a Me Too movement, thankfully, blaming the victim, calling victims liars, saying they're in it for the money. That is going to backfire, and we saw that in the Bill Cosby case, where his defense attorneys cross-examined the victim and all of the other women that testified, and the jurors said, no, we're not going to buy that anymore. These women should be believed. You can't attack the victim. So if he uses that tactic, not good in this case.
Well, in the Bill Cosby case, 5 other women were allowed to come and testify.
Right.
You said more than 80 women have accused Harvey Weinstein of with these accusations, but only 2 cases were brought up on the charges today in New York. Do you foresee other women coming into that courtroom?
Well, look, the prosecution is going to want to bring other women to show that he had a pattern, he had an MO. If it is allowed, that will be a big appellate issue if he gets convicted. So typically, you're not supposed to bring in other victims to say that this guy was guilty in this case. That's prior bad act evidence, but the prosecution will certainly fight for it to show that Weinstein had an MO. He had a pattern. This is what he did. So it's really going to be up to the judge to decide.
So Harvey Weinstein was booked today. He is wearing an ankle bracelet, the GPS monitor, $1 million cash bail. They said he has to stay in New York, Connecticut. Interesting, though, I read that he spent about a half hour in a cell, and he was recognized by the other inmates, and they said, "Yo, Harvey." And it made me think the scales of justice, can he get a fair trial?
He can
Everybody
get a fair trial.
knows Harvey Weinstein.
He can get a fair trial. We've had high-profile cases where defendants have gotten fair trials. The issue isn't going to be if people have heard about the case. Everyone in the world has heard about the case. The issue is, can those jurors set aside preconceived notions and base their decision on the facts and evidence only in that courtroom? And absolutely he can.
All right, it's with 2 women in this case. His attorney says everything has been consensual with all these accusations. They believe he will be fully exonerated. You're defending Harvey Weinstein. How do you do it?
That's tough. He's going to have to produce evidence. This was consensual. Really, it's only about these 2 women, right? Not anybody else, not the other 80+ women. He's going to have to show evidence that this was consensual. Text messages, emails, testimony, other individuals that will corroborate him. It's going to be very tough to do.
What did you make of Harvey Weinstein's appearance as we were looking at him here in court as well? I wouldn't use the word gaunt, but he looks like he's lost weight.
It's hitting home. I mean, if he gets convicted on these charges, he will essentially, be in jail for the rest of his entire life. 2 felonies, 25 years max on each of them, and there's numerous charges, so I think it's hitting home.
He's 66 years old, so that's pretty much a life
the rest
sentence.
of his life, yeah. And I think he realizes that. It seems like it's finally resonating with him, and we'll see if they enter into a plea agreement in this case. I don't think he wants to take the chance and take this case to trial. In the post-Me Too era, it is just too much of a risk.
But aren't these cases hard to prove?
They're hard to prove, but we are in a different era now. People believe victims. It's no more blame the victim. It just does not resonate anymore.
It will be interesting to see, if he was found to have lured women across state lines. They're talking about how it becomes a federal crime then, and then we're talking a minimum, is it 25 years?
It's beyond that, because now the feds are looking to see whether or not he lured women across the state. That would just mean additional charges on additional sex crimes, and that's the federal jurisdiction. They can go after him just after the state can.
The founder of the #MeToo movement, this is actually even before Harvey Weinstein accusations, has said this is a victory for women who have spoken up.
Yeah.
Thoughts on so many women who
I think it's a victory for everyone who has come forward and who was not believed, who was blamed, who was afraid that they would be blackballed. This happens in all walks of life, not just Hollywood. I represent victims from all walks of life. And so, yes, this should be a victory for everybody because the tide is changing, thankfully.
There's been a big response on social media. Rose McGowan said, she said, among many other things, "We got you." One of the other women who accused Harvey of rape in the 1990s said, "Can I get a front row seat to this?" So you talked about the reckoning and the response, especially in social media, but Hollywood, I can't get past they knew about this. I've seen TV shows on 30 Rock where there was a line where one of the actresses says, "Oh, I'm going to have to go fool around with Harvey Weinstein." You know, they knew.
They
this
knew
was
and they
years
didn't
ago.
do anything.
Right.
They knew and they didn't do anything until today, and I'm thankful that New York took this case seriously. And that's the issue. There's the casting couch. There's people with money and power get away with this all the time, and I think finally the tide is changing. This will set a precedent in the future.
His attorney is saying he didn't invent the casting couch.
Right. I hope he doesn't say that in the trial. That will backfire. That will be insulting. That is basically saying these women asked for it. Not going to fly in a post-Me Too era. I can tell you they will hold it against Harvey Weinstein if his lawyer makes that argument in trial.
That does not sound like a winning strategy.
Not at all.
Anahita Sedaghatfar.
Thank you for having me.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Coming up.